The sea, a realm of both bounty and peril, has long captivated humanity. Its unpredictable nature has inspired countless tales of wonder, danger, and the unknown. These stories help us comprehend the ocean's power and grapple with our fears of the deep. Tonight, we delve into three such narratives: the ghostly Flying Dutchman, the mysterious burning ship of Baie, Chaleurs, and the tragic HMS Eurydice. These examples of maritime folklore and history reveal our enduring fascination with the sea and its enduring secrets. Of all the ghost ships that sailors have whispered about, the Flying Dutchman is probably the most famous. This ghost ship is said to be cursed to sail the oceans forever and never be able to stop at a port. It has captured the thoughts of sailors and people on land for hundreds of years. The story of this ship probably started in the 1600s. This time was called the Golden Age of the Dutch East India Company, VOC. The Dutch had a lot of power on the sea and controlled much of the world's trade. The trips that VOC ships took were very long and hard. They faced dangers like storms and pirates. This made it easy for stories of bad luck and strange things to become popular. The first time the Flying Dutchman was written about was in a book by John MacDonald called Travels in Various Parts of Europe, Asia, and Africa during a series of 30 years and upward, published in 1790. MacDonald told a common story among sailors about a Dutch ship that had very bad weather near the Cape of Good Hope. The ship couldn't find someone to guide it into the harbor and was lost. Ever since then, people said that its ghost could be seen in stormy weather. This early story already had two important parts of the legend. It was Dutch, and it was connected to the dangerous waters around the Cape of Good Hope. This place, at the bottom of Africa, was known for its sudden and strong storms. This made it a good place for stories about ships being destroyed. Over time, the story changed. It often added details about why the captain was cursed. One idea is that the story came from real people, like Captain Bernard Fock. He was a Dutch captain in the 1600s who was known for how fast he could sail between the Netherlands and Java. Fock's speed was so amazing that some people thought he had made a deal with the devil. Another popular person in the story is Captain Hendrik van der Decken. His name became more famous in the 1800s. The change from just a Dutchman to these specific people shows how old stories can grow around people, whether they were real or not. This adds more to the story and makes it more complex. The early link to the VOC time probably shows the worries people had about long and dangerous trips for trade and exploring. The desire for wealth could be seen as tempting bad luck. There are many different versions of the Flying Dutchman story. Each one adds something different to the main idea of being forever punished at sea. Some common parts are the captain making a deal with the devil. This was often because he was desperate to get around the Cape during a very bad storm. In other stories, the curse was a punishment from God for something bad, like promising to sail through any storm, even until the end of the world. No matter what the captain did wrong, the main part of the story is that he and his crew are doomed to sail the seas forever. They will never find a safe place to rest. People often believed that seeing the Flying Dutchman was a very bad sign. It meant bad luck, storms were coming, or even that someone would die. Some stories say that the ghost crew might try to talk to other ships that pass by. They hope to send messages to land or to loved ones who died a long time ago. This is a sad reminder of how they are forever separated from the world. It's interesting that some versions offer a little hope. They say that the curse could be broken if the captain found a woman who would love him truly until she died. In other versions, a crew member could take his place. This shows ideas of forgiveness and giving up something for others. The idea of a curse for going against the power of nature shows how much respect and even fear the sea had in the culture of sailors. The history of the Flying Dutchman legend shows that it started in the 1600s. This was when the Dutch had a lot of power on the sea and many trade routes. The location of the Cape of Good Hope is very important. It was a key but dangerous path for ships traveling between Europe and the East Indies. The unpredictable storms and strong currents around the Cape made it a place where ships could easily be lost. This provides a believable setting for a story about a ship doomed to fight the weather forever. In the waters of the Baie de Chaleurs, between Quebec and New Brunswick in Canada, there's another story of a ghost ship, the legend of the Fireship. Unlike the Flying Dutchman, which is said to sail alone, the Fireship looks like a ship on fire. It is often described as a three-masted ship that is burning, strangely sailing against the wind. People say they see it most often on warm summer nights, which adds to the mystery. Local stories even say that if you put your feet in the Baie's water on nights when the Fireship is seen, you can hear the screams of the people burning on the ship. This is a scary reminder of the tragedy the vision suggests. This local legend shows how important regional stories are in shaping the culture of people who live by the sea. It reflects the specific history and experiences of the communities around the Baie de Chaleurs. While the idea of a cursed, burning ship is a popular explanation, there are also natural reasons that might explain the sightings. One idea is St. Elmo's fire. This is an electrical discharge that can look like a bright light around pointed objects like masts during storms or when there is a lot of electricity in the air. Another possibility is that swamp gas, mostly methane, catches fire. This gas can come from dead plants and animals in the bay. When it burns, it can create a flickering light that might look like a burning ship, especially from far away. Mirages, especially a complex kind called Fata Morgana, could also be involved. These are illusions of ships on the horizon caused by light bending through layers of air with different temperatures. Other scientific ideas include light made by rotting plants or natural gas coming up from under the sea, and even glowing sea creatures. It's interesting that in the early 1900s, professors from Harvard looked into this. They thought that St. Elmo's fire was the most likely reason for the strange light seen in the Baie de Chaleurs. The mix of spooky and scientific explanations shows how humans try to understand things they don't know, using both magical and logical thinking. The stories about where the Fireship of the Baie de Chaleurs came from are full of the region's history and how different cultures interacted. One story tells of a Portuguese captain who came to the bay in the early 1500s and kidnapped Mi'kmaq people to sell as slaves. When he came back, the locals reportedly killed him, and a curse was put on his ship. It was doomed to burn forever in the bay. Another story is about a group of pirates who killed a woman near Port Daniel. As she died, she is said to have cursed them, saying they would burn on the bay forever. A sadder story talks about sailors on a ship caught in a storm. They were afraid they would die and blamed a Catholic among them, whom they killed. The fire that then burned the ship was said to be because of the innocent man's blood, cursing the murderers to sail the ocean forever in flames. These different stories give us an idea of past fights, beliefs about what is right and wrong, and how strange events were explained by locals, deeply connected to Acadian stories. The legend of the Fireship might also have real historical connections to important events in the Baie de Chaleurs. One possible link is the Battle of the Restigouche in 1760. This important sea battle, fought where the Restigouche River flows into the Baie de Chaleurs, was the last fight between the English and French for control of North America during the 7 Years' War. Some people think the Fireship could be the ghost of a French warship that was set on fire during the battle. Another idea connects the burning ship to the wreck of the Lady Colborne in 1838. This English ship was carrying valuable things like gold, spices, and wine when it sank off the Gaspé coast. Some people think the Chaleurs phantom is its ghost, maybe fueled by the lost treasure. These possible historical links give a real, though not certain, basis for the long-lasting legend. Unlike the stories of legends and possible natural events, the sinking of the HMS Eurydice in 1878 is a real and sad historical event. The Eurydice was a Royal Navy ship with 26 guns, built in 1843. It was first made to be fast and to sail in shallow water. After serving for many years in the West Indies and even being used as a training ship that stayed in one place, it was fixed up in 1877 for training at sea. In November of that year, it left Portsmouth for a 3-month training trip to North America and the West Indies, based in Bermuda. Its last trip started on March 6, 1878, when it left Bermuda for Portsmouth. It had over 300 people on board, many of whom were young sailors learning their skills. The Eurydice's job as a training ship showed that the Royal Navy was worried about keeping traditional sailing skills alive at a time when steam-powered iron ships were becoming more common. After crossing the Atlantic quickly, the Eurydice was close to home on the afternoon of March 24, 1878, when disaster struck off the Isle of Wight. A sudden and strong snowstorm, with very strong winds, came upon the ship very quickly. Sadly, the Eurydice had all its sails up and its gun openings open, probably because they thought they would be in port soon. The sudden storm and the open gun openings caused the ship to turn over very fast, and icy seawater rushed onto the decks. Of the over 300 people on board, only 2 survived, Sidney Fletcher and Benjamin Cuttaford. Captain Marcus Augustus Stanley Hare reportedly told everyone to save themselves before putting his hands together to pray and going down with his ship. This shows the discipline and faith of that time. One of the people who saw this sad event was a young Winston Churchill, who was living in Ventnor with his family then. The speed and unexpectedness of the storm, along with the ship being in a vulnerable state, led to a terrible series of events. The sinking of the Eurydice led to official investigations to find out what caused the disaster. The wreck was found and brought back to the surface later that year, but it was too damaged to fix, so it was taken apart. Many memorials were made to honor those who died, including a big anchor memorial at the Royal Naval Cemetery in Chaleurs, Gosport. The ship's anchor is part of the stone there. There are also memorial plaques in churches on the Isle of Wight and in Portsmouth. The tragedy had a big impact on how the Royal Navy trained sailors. They started to use ships built just for training instead of old warships that were changed. This shows the lessons they learned from this sad loss. Like other sea disasters, the sinking of the Eurydice has also led to stories of a ghost ship seen off the Isle of Wight. Over the years, sailors and locals have said they saw a 3-masted ship that looked like the Eurydice sailing in the waters near Dunnose, the headland where it sank. One interesting story is from 1998 when Prince Edward was filming a show on the Isle of Wight. He reportedly saw the ghost ship, and his film crew said they caught it on camera. These stories of a ghost returning show the deep sadness caused by the Eurydice's sinking and how people often connect places of great loss with strange, unexplainable events.